Alrighty folks, it's been a minute since we've had a little video. Today we got about 9 here. We're gonna do some obscure to very obscure to only their mothers know their names. New wave of British heavy metal. Starting off with Brands Hatch, named after a racing track in Kent, I think. That is the actual title of the name, ST. It's not Brands Hatch, it's ST for self-titled. This is just straight ahead. New wave of British heavy metal. Really good sounding. This is, when did this come out? I looked it up. Now I can't remember. It's actually on the obscure NWOBHM release label. I can't remember when it came out. But this was never released. It may have had an EP out. But nothing else. A lot of these compilations, they had recorded music, but couldn't never find a label that wanted to put it out. So this one's made up of demos and stuff that was recorded. I believe they released the demo. It's weird because they mixed the demo in with the stuff was actually recorded in a studio for album release, so it makes the listening kind of uneven, but it's good, straight ahead. No album release. I apologize if I've shown some of these already. I used to have 2 piles. I have the pile that just came in that I was listening to, and I would rip to the computer. And then after I finished listening to it, rip to the computer, I'd set it in another pile, and that would be the pile I worked out of for videos. Well, now Microsoft decided that when you rip albums to the CDs, they don't pull the information off the internet anymore. They got rid of that feature. So now you have to go in and hand edit all of the CDs that you rip. So that turned from 2 piles now into 3 piles, and I think some of my piles are getting mixed in together. So I apologize if I've shown some of these before. This is Elixir. This is probably gonna be the most well-known band of the ones I'm showing. Some people might know the album Son of Odin. They released Son of Odin in '86. They released another album in '90. Released like 2, maybe 3 albums in the 2000s, and they released one in 2010 and one in 2020. So very sporadic. This came out in 2005, I believe. They sound really good. Not the largest crowd that they're playing in front of, but the band's really tight. If you don't know Elixir, they're kind of, like I said, their first album, Son of Odin, came out in '86. So they were a little past the technical new wave of British heavy metal scene, which is why they kind of have more of a US power metal sound to them. If you like Omen, Manila Road, Manowar, not quite as epic as Manowar, but in that style, you'd like Elixir. Then we have Hollow Ground, Warlord. This is a huge compilation. High Roller Records. I think this one came out in 2015, something like that. 2014. Came with a little slip case. comes with a little poster. I'm guessing somebody in the band did the artwork for the album. This one's really good. This is probably the best one out of the ones I'm going to show. As far as just straight ahead, I wouldn't say speed metal, but it's pretty heavy. Guitarists are really good. It sounded a little like Fist, if you know that band. And we have Spartan Warrior. Now, I had this on my want list forever, the vinyl. But it usually goes for like $150, which I wasn't gonna pay, of course. There's another High Roller Records release with slipcase. And then I just decided, I think last year, to see if it had come out on CD yet. Somebody decided to release it, and sure enough, I think 2025. So yeah, had to have been last year, didn't it? Spartan Warrior Steel and Chains. Think Saxon Wheels of Steel meets Tigers of Pantang Wildcat. And I gotta take this out of here. Well, I'll hold it there. When I was looking through these, a bunch of teeth fell out of this one. But yeah, this is another really good one. Nice thick booklet with these. I mean, High Roller Records really goes to a lot of work for some of these bands that, you know, I know the bands help them out with the photos and history and stuff like that, but still the fact that they put them all together and these nice booklets and nice releases. Spartan Warrior Steel and Chains. I said, if you like early Saxon, early Tigers of Pantang, you'll find something to like here for sure. And sorry about these but if I don't keep them with the CD, then I end up misplacing them, and I got all the little sleeves hanging around. I don't know where they belong, so I try and keep them together best as I can. And we have Storm. Another obscure NWOBHM release. That's the label. When did this one come out? 2022, I think. Now there is one live track on here, Assassin, which is like the most famous track. I think that this is just one of those albums that got recorded and they never could find anybody to release it. And just all these years later, these tiny labels put them out. I don't know what kind of compensation they give these bands, or if the bands are just finally happy to get them released, and it's been so many years they don't really care anymore about monetary gain. They probably get nothing from the labels. They probably get themselves, they might get a little something on the back end for sales. Here we have Torture Last Post, the complete delivery 1980 to 1981, which is not a completely accurate title, because there are actually 3 bands on this release, and it goes through 1983. So the tracks 1 through 5 taken from, I'm sorry, 1 through 3 taken from the Last Post 7-inch single from 1981. Tracks 4 through 6 taken from the demo 1980. Tracks 7 through 12 were recorded under the band name Mean Streak in 1983, and tracks 13 through 15 were recorded under the band name Janice Stark in 1983. So the band effectively split up in 82 or 83, and half the band formed Mean Streak and half the band formed Janice Stark. So you get, this is more definitely early Tigers of Pantang. The vocalist, he has a tone that's similar to Raven, but not as high, screechy. And then I think he was the singer. The guitar playing on the Torture tracks is really good. And I think that singer is the singer on Mean Streak. Just pretty straight ahead. And then Janice Stark, I believe the guitar player is on that one. But yeah, this came out on Cult Metal Classics in 2025. Then we have Triarchy, Save the Con. These guys bring a little bit of prog to their sound. Early Rush meets Hawkwind. These guys got, doesn't show it here, but they have a lot of synthesizer in their album. I mean, sometimes like there's a synthesizer solo and no guitar solo. Yeah, a little on the proggy side, or proggy elements, let me say. Triarchy, Save the Con. We have Turbo, Charged for Glory. This is another straight ahead band, just straight ahead. New wave of British heavy metal. Another good one. I think this one. Yeah, this one has tracks 1 and 2 taken from the Charge for Glory single, tracks 3 through 5 taken from the Stallion EP, and then tracks 6 through 15 taken from the Live at the Angels Burnley, April 7th, 1981. This came out in 2025 from Cult Metal Classics. And last but not least, we have Zeb Dragon, self-titled. This is another compilation from Cult Metal Classics, came out in 2018. Only seven tracks on this one. band's called Zeb Dragon. The album's called Zeb Dragon. No gloss rockers. These guys are really quirky. Yeah, it says Ben Brierly on vocals, acoustic guitar, mandolin, and violin. And then John Mabey on guitar, Crispin Brierly on drums and flute, and Mike Richardson on bass. So and you can take a look there. If Jethro Tull started playing new wave of British heavy metal, it might sound something like these guys. I mean, their opening track is called Voyage of a 20th Century Poet. So yeah, it's good. It's good though. Interesting. You definitely never heard another new wave British heavy metal band that sounds like them. And I'd never heard of them before until I came across when I was probably on the Cult Metal Classics page. Alrighty, folks. Go through them one more time to drag this out even longer. Zeb Dragon, Turbo Charge for Glory, the complete anthology. Triarchy, Save the Con. Torture, The Last Post, the complete delivery, 1980 to 1981. Storm, Spartan Warrior, Steel and Chains, Hollow Ground, Warlord, Elixir Live, and Brands Hatch, ST self-titled. Alrighty, you guys have a good one.